Hi Flosstube, my name is Kirsty, Crafting Kirsty on Instagram and on YouTube. This is a channel about cross stitching, quilting, my attempt at crochet and any other crafts I fancy having a go at. It is Wednesday the 3rd of March 2021 and this is Flosstube number 3. So I hope everyone's well. I hope you all had a good February. Happy, healthy, productive, etc, etc. We're into March, we're into spring, yay! I'd like to start by saying thank you to everyone who has watched, thank you to everyone who has subscribed, and especially thank you to everyone who has left comments. It's been lovely getting to chat to some of you. They have all been very encouraging, enthusiastic, kind. They've been great comments, so thank you very much, it's lovely. Hi, me again. I completely forgot to say thank you to Lauren from Flossabilities for her shout out in her YouTube video at the beginning of February. I know a few of the subscribers have come across from her and said that they've come across from her. Completely forgot to say it, so sorry. I'm just going to try and edit this in at some point. So thank you very much, Lauren. It's been February here. We've had a month of lockdown. Basically just killing time between meals in this household. I've got quite a lot done, but I'm looking forward to better weather and being able to get back out in the garden and do stuff. I have spent a bit of time learning how to do some editing. So I can now, theoretically, put a picture in and put writing along the bottom. It doesn't mean it's going to happen at the right time or in the right place. So you might just have to work it out for yourselves what I'm talking about and whether it relates to the picture that's on the screen or not. I've just been through my phone and I haven't got many photos of my work from February to do some comparisons with. So I'm going to start doing that this month onwards. If you have subscribed, if you have, thank you very much. If you either have a YouTube, your own Flosstube, or you're on Instagram, please do let me know so that I can follow you back, because it's always nice to see what other people are working on and make it a bit more of a two-way street rather than me just talking at you. Right, so cross stitching. I have completely fallen off my 3-whip wagon spectacularly. I've had 3 new starts in the last month, but I will get to those and I will try and justify my actions when I get to show you those starts. So we will start with my Haid, which is Mini Garden Gate charted by Heaven. Oh, I can't see what you. Oh, there we go. Charted by Haid, artwork by Amy Stewart, and I am chugging along on this as usual. I am still trying to do a square a day, still parking in the square above. Thoroughly enjoying it, and I'm getting to see some progress, so that's great. So here we go. That is, if I can, oh there we go, bring it out a bit, you can see. So I think the last month I was halfway through page 2. So I now have a scarecrow who's quite cute and a few sunflowers. And I'm sort of onto page 3, although actually the page isn't done acrossways, not downways, but I've done the first 3 pages down. This is the entire height of the chart, because even though I'd counted and recounted and counted again, I wasn't 100% convinced that I was going to fit it all on, and I would rather do 2 and a bit pages to find out that my fabric was too short than 12 pages to then find out my fabric was too short. So I will now, once I finish this bottom page, I'm going to start working along the top, which is actually how they recommend that you do stitch these charts. Well, it's how this particular pattern is recommended. And then I will probably either jump about a bit or start to fill in. I'm sure there's some big psychological term for it. I'm quite visually motivated, so I know how low I've got to go. If I know how far across I've got to go and I've got this ever decreasing area to be stitched on, I'm more motivated to stitch and get it finished than if I was doing 3, 3, 3 and not having an end in sight, just constantly chasing finish. But I'm really, really enjoying this. It's got some lovely colours in it. And yeah, I'm planning to keep on just, a square a day, parking in the square above. My next project is, or my next whip is Language of Flowers from Rosewood Manor. This is a fab chart. And I had thought I might get a finish. I was chasing a finish on this month, but not quite, unfortunately. I still have, actually, sorry, let me get this back again. Where am I going from? So I still have this sort of section down there. So I've gone all the way across. I'm all the way at the bottom, and I've just got to finish this sort of corner, really. There's a couple of triffids in this corner. I was thinking, oh, that won't take too long. And then I looked at the front of it. Oh my God, that's going to take forever. But I am going to get this finished this month. So hopefully, this big, I'm going to have to stand up to show you, I think. Sorry about that. So there we go. I'm absolutely loving this. It's thoroughly enjoyable to stitch on. I only have that little section left to do. So yeah, hopefully that will be a finish this month. Because then I can have another start, because I haven't had enough starts this month already. Or I didn't have enough starts last month. My next whip is the Waxing Moon Designs Monthly Sampler, December. This one has been somewhat neglected, I'm afraid, for various reasons. Mainly, as I said, I was chasing a finish on the Language of Flowers. And then when I did sort of start to get on with this, so I can't seem to get everything in screen today, there we go. When I did start to get on with this, I've had a few boo-boos. The first one being December here at the top. I started at this end and did the first couple of letters and thought, oh God, they're out, but only by half a square. So it's 2 over 2 on 27 count Linda. Sorry, that's also what Language of the Flowers is on, 27 count Linda. So it's 2 over 2, and basically my R was 1 square too high. And I thought, well, as long as they're all 1 square too high, didn't think it through. As long as they're all 1 square too high, it doesn't matter. I'll just keep going. So of course I finished the whole letter, whole word. And then it dawned on me that actually I was going to end up having to go 3 squares or, so I took it out and redid that. You can't tell, fortunately, because nothing really connects to anything else usually. There's a few counting errors on this. I think this section is okay so far. I've got a lot of letters left to do, so a lot of words left to do. I have run out of this thread, so I need to order some more of that. But the rest of it, a lot of it is bulk stitching, which is absolutely fine. So once I've finished my Language of the Flowers, I will then get this finished. I will then start January, and then I will allow myself to have a new start. But yeah, I'm just really, for some reason, really struggling with this fabric this month. Haven't done on the Language of the Flowers, but that one, I've really struggled with it. So my new starts, I think, why did I start some new starts? I think I have a lot of big charts in my chart drawer. Even though I'd love dough ballfuls of pillows and small finishes and tier trays, I always seem to end up buying big charts. And I think I'd obviously got to the point with Language of the Flowers where I'd done a bit and hadn't really seemed to make much progress. And I was thinking, oh my God, it's going to be at least another 2 months before I finish this one. If I continue to do the monthly samplers as I want to do, I'm not actually going to finish that until October. So I'm not going to have many starts this year. And I've got all these big charts that are piling up that I'd like to get started. And I thought, how can I do that? And I was inspired actually by Kerry, Kitty Stitcher, on Instagram and on YouTube, who posted that she had missed the 24-hour cross-stitch marathon weekend in January, but she had chosen her project and she was just going to do 24 hours that month on that project. I thought, oh, that's what I could do. I could choose a big chart and then I could just do the marathons. So it would end up having, because I think they have 4 weekends a year, so it would be 96 hours theoretically that you would get stitched on it. And I thought, I can cope with that. If I know it's going to get some work on it at some point, that's fine. So I looked at all of my charts and then I joined the 24-hour cross stitch, and obviously I'd missed January, just like Kerry had done. And the next 2 were in June and August. Well, that's not going to happen. And the last one was in November, and I sort of thought, well, I'll just have to do them in different months. I thought, this just isn't working. And at that very point, I think it was Emily C, who is also on YouTube, posted that she and Jen Lee of 24 Hours of Cross Stitch were starting the pandemic sampler from Sassy Girl on the 1st of March, I think as birthday starts for both of them. And they were sort of selling it with a hashtag. So I thought, right, that's what I'm going to do because I've got that chart. So this was sort of, I don't know, the 10th or the 11th that I decided that was what I was going to do. And then I thought, well, if I'm doing that on the 1st, I could do something on the 13th for Dark October stitching. So I went back through my charts because there's nothing as much fun as going through your charts. And I came out with Plum Street Samplers Earthly Treasures. So this was a chart I had. I absolutely love it. I love the saying. It's just so true. And I could kit it up from my stash. So that's what I did, because I thought, well, if I'm going to start things, I'm not going to buy, because I've got so far through the month then without buying anything. I then thought, I'm not going to start buying stuff, just have new starts that I shouldn't really have. So I could kit it up from scratch, which I did with some Cashel 28 count Zweigart linen. And this is the start I had so far. So I worked on this, right, can you see this one? Yes, you can. So I worked on this, sorry about the marks, I should have ironed it. I probably should have ironed it with my shirt as well. I realised how creased it was when I was looking at myself in the camera. So this I stitched on the 13th of February, which was a Saturday. And it actually got 5.5 hours, I think I managed to spend an hour here and an hour there throughout the day, and then in the evening on this. So I'm quite happy with the progress I've made. Really, really enjoying stitching it. You know, and hopefully 2-3 months of a couple of one evening a month, get that done. We'll see, but I hope so. And then I thought, well, if I'm starting on the 13th, I might as well do one on the 25th for Christmas as well, really. And I did have a chart in mind that I really wanted to do, but I would have had to have bought things for that. So no, don't do that. So I have decided to start Our Forest embroidery. This suddenly burst all over Instagram just before Christmas. And it is, excuse black and white, but I wasn't going to print it out in colour. Really, really pretty. And I have started this on 32 count Irish linen. And that is, so far, my M. This S up here is, when I'd initially started, when I first bought this piece of linen from this lady, she said, oh, you need to do it 1/1, or, you know, do it over 1 and blah, blah. She was trying to show me, and I went home and I tried, and it was just too hard. I can do it, and I was also doing it only with tent stitch, and that really fried my brain trying to work out where it was supposed to go. So I gave up and went for 2/2, so there's this is 1/2, sorry, 1/2 on 32 count. I really, really like the coverage of it. I think probably helped the fact the linen is that bit darker. And I've actually, as I said, I pulled my own threads for this because you only need 4, I think. But the 2 main ones I am using are DMC variegated. So this is 115. So if I spin it, I don't know if you'll see, that's the red darks and lights, really, really pretty. And the green is 94. See that? Various greens in there. So they're really good. I'm not a huge Fancy Floss fan. I'll show you why in another Flosstube when I bring out a couple of my projects that I did with Fancy Floss. But I do quite like those, and I think in something like this, where it's mainly just outlines, or it, you know, it's not going to be too bad. So that's M. I've still got loads of snowflakes, trees, and things to add to it. So that was one night's work. So yes, this won't be done at, even at a letter a month, this won't be done for this Christmas, but I'm quite enjoying it. So I'll just keep on plodding on with that. And then finally, what actually started this overflow of new starts was the 2020 pandemic sampler that was offered by Sassy Girl on Instagram, and she has a YouTube as well, which I hope is Sassy Girl. I follow her, so I should know. And it was a free download, but she just asked you to donate to something to a charity of your choice. So I think I bought some packs of cat food and took it to the local rescue centre for the hedgehogs, because I think just downloaded it sort of October time. It's really, really pretty. 2 huge, great big houses in it. Not a huge house for them, but you know, they'll be fine. And I got my knickers in a complete twist over trying to kit this up, particularly kitting it up from stash. I think I was just trying to tick too many boxes with one project. I wanted to try working on 25 count over 1, because as I said, I've got a couple of these big projects in my drawer, and if I'm doing them, you know, 2 over 2 on 27 count, they're going to be more curtain-like than they are cross-stitch to hang on the wall like. So I thought, well, I'll try 25 count over 1. I wanted to stitch from stash only, and I wanted to use up some fancy floss that I had from a previous project. And I wanted to prim it up to a certain degree. I didn't want to dye the fabric beforehand, but I wanted to try Daisy K Primitives, Christy on Daisy K's Primitives, excuse me. She will quite often dunk her fabric in coffee after she stitched it, and it looks really good. And what seems to happen is the coffee almost sort of pulls away from the stitching, because anyway, but it looks really good. And I thought in the back of my mind, I thought, I wonder if you can do that with fancy floss or not. So I did message her, and she messaged straight back and said, no, no, you can't do that, don't do that. And she said, but you know, well, you could dye the material first or whatnot. And I said, well, I might try teabagging it at the end, or I suppose I suddenly thought this morning actually I could use that sort of walnut spray or something like that, because I am doing, it's not all going to be fancy floss, and so I can avoid the bigger areas of fancy floss to stop it bleeding, hopefully. But we shall see. So anyway, so far I've had 1 night on this, and this is as far as I've got to. So this is 25 count, 1 over 1. This is Lugana. It's either antique or cream. I've made a mistake already. I think it's this flower here is 1 too low. It should be level with that red one there. It doesn't affect anything else, so I've left it for the moment. If, when I've eventually finished this, it really, really bugs me, I will take it out and restitch it. But I should imagine by the time I've finished with this, I won't be too bothered about it. So yeah, so I'm stitching that on the 1st, my Merry Christmas on the 25th, the Earthly Treasures on the 13th, and my other 3 main projects will just get worked on, you know, mainly for the first 2 weeks of the month, and then as and when I sort of pick them up in the last 2 weeks. Cross stitch, stash, I've only got one, not stash, haul. I've only got 1 piece of haul. This came from a Stash Unload website again. And I've had to sellotape the bag up. Sorry, I should have got this out. Sellotape the bag up, so hopefully it's not all sellotaped together. And it is Heart of the Home Sampler by Brenda Gervais. And I just think it's a very pretty country sampler. And I really like the blues in it. So I thought, oh, that would be quite nice. So that's one to go in the drawer for some point in the next, you know, however many hundreds of years. I think, oh, I've got no FFOs, I'm afraid, out of my bag of shame. Because, well, basically because I like to procrastinate really at the end of the day. But also I'm going to blame Amazon Prime in particular. I've known all along that this month I was going to frame 2 of my pieces. I've known the company I'm going to order the frame from. I've had a vague idea of what frames I was going to choose. And I left it until last week to actually order it. and surprise, surprise, it's about 10 to 16 days of shipping. Well, it's not just going to be here tomorrow on my doorstep like Amazon Prime. You really do get spoiled with Amazon, don't you? So they haven't arrived because I clicked it anyway, obviously, because I wanted them, and I thought, well, you know, it'll be here after the weekend. No, they appear to be taking the full 16 days to deliver it. I could have done something else, but I wanted to take my time with that particular finish. So I will have those hopefully for my next Flosstube to show you. And it'll be quite interesting to see what these frames are like. It's an internet company. They're all pre-made, and you just choose your mounts if you want mounts, and huge amount of choice. Reasonably cheap. The 2 frames in total came to less than £20. So it'll be very interesting to see what they're like when they turn up. And then I'll be able to tell you, you know, obviously if it's great, I'll be able to recommend the company. If it's not, then I won't waste my time sagging them off. So that, I think, oh, apart from this Needlework Expo, which is just, I'm looking forward to it in a way, but I'm also just, there's so much stuff to see. I don't really know. But the one that has really stuck out to me is a design by Keslins, and hopefully, because I have got a photo of that, so hopefully it'll appear there. And it's called Cross Stitch Fun, and I think that looks really good. And so if I'm going, I got burnt a couple of years ago buying something from Market in a panic and paying huge amounts of shipping for it, because I didn't really understand what was going on. It was a limited exclusive or something. So I thought it was only going to be available at the Market, and as it turned out, it just wasn't available in the designer's shop for a month or so. So I've learnt my lesson, and I now tend to sit back a bit at Market and wait. I think they'll be around for a couple of years. But that one is one that stuck out that I think, well, if I see that, that is one that I will get. So I think that's it for my cross-stitching segment. So if you're leaving me here, thank you very much for joining me. I hope you'll come back in April and see how I have or haven't got on. And have a good month and take care. Right, so we're on to the quilting section now. So I've had a reasonably good quilting month. I've actually managed to finish my, excuse me, hexagon star a day quilt from Somerset Designs. So I've finished the top. I wanted to get it basted, but that wasn't going to happen. So I will show you the top in total. It's absolutely huge, and the edges of it do look a bit raggedy, but half of them are going to be cut off. So you'll just have to ignore that bit. So here we go. So I'll stand up in a minute. But essentially, I added another 3 rows of these red ones, or pink, fuchsia pink, another border of diamonds, and then we go down here, and these hexagons, which were just leftover ones from the originals. Essentially, I will cut them all off here, straight down at the edge of the diamonds, and they will have the binding put over the top of them. So you go into the middle, and there's more hexagons, half hexagons on the top, just to finish, square it up. And so I stand up, and I don't think I'm going to get far enough back because this is huge. Ooh. Ta-da! And then that's the middle section with the stars in it. And then obviously the bottom is exactly the same as the top. So I'm really, really pleased. I've now got this all put together. You know, the star a day, make it in a year. It's a lie. It's a complete lie. You can get the stars made in the year. I don't dispute that. But you've got to cut out all the diamonds. You've got to piece everything together. No, it's not going to happen. It's taken me 3 years practically to the week that I bought the pattern. I bought it on my way back from Cheltenham races. I stopped on the outskirts of Northampton at Poppy Patch, quilting shop called Poppy Patch. Really, really nice shop. They have a lot of Australian, so if you like Lynette Anderson, they have a lot of her patterns, kits, designs. Yeah, they have a lot of different stuff in there. They're really good actually. But yes, I bought that pattern 3 years ago and I've finished it now. I have managed to, well, finished it, I'll baste it and quilt it and bind it this month. I have pulled one of the quilt tops out of my bag of shame and I have basted it and I've finished quilting it this morning. Get it through so it's done quickly. This is taken from Friendships, Stripes, Strips and Scraps by Adita Sitar, Laundry Basket Quilts. Love all things editor. Love all things laundry basket quilts, fabrics, patterns, the full works. Absolutely fantastic. And so, excuse me, I've stuck this piece of paper over so you can't see stuff. And so this is essentially the quilt. 9 patches, Irish chain, and the whole idea is you're supposed to have a dark, light, dark, light, dark, light, dark, light, dark. However, I wanted to use up a whole load of batiks that I had. So at the quilt shows, there is a shop called Hannah's Room, which is specialises in batiks. And at the quilt shows, over the last couple of years, she's had this bucket on the front of her stall that she puts all the scraps and odds and ends of batik fabric in. And you can choose 2 bags. You can either have a smaller bag, which used to cost you £5, I think, or maybe it was £10, and a bigger bag that cost you 15. And you could just shove as much of the fabric into these bags as you want. She was quite happy for you to completely stuff this bag full, and then you went off. So I did this over quite a few different quilt, visits, over a few years to visit quilt. I'm really struggling now, sorry. So over a couple of years of going to all the quilt shows, I amassed quite a lot of batiks, and I thought I really need to start using these. And some of them were just thin strips, some of them were practically fat quarters. It just, you really had to, it was just a complete pick and mix, absolutely fantastic. So I decided I was going to use that pattern for this quilt, but sorry, in this pattern you will see she just has a plain floral border. Which is absolutely great, and on reflection is probably what I should have done. I ended up doing I think it's a piano key border, or just basically bigger stripes down the border of all the batiks. So I will show you initially the quilt, and then I will tell you the story, because surprise, surprise, there's a story to this quilt. So here we go. We have got squares. This is the border, so it goes all the way across, and again it just keeps going all the way down to, what can you see now? Oh, there we go, to more border. So if I can get a bit further back, I'll try and show you it all a bit better. But there you go. So I lost the light dark effect slightly, unfortunately. I don't think I had quite enough lights, but it's a really scrappy mismatch. I wanted the black to make the squares stand out, but I didn't want it all black because that would have just been too heavy, I think. So I went for the grey, which is lovely. As I said, I quilted it this month, finishing it this morning. I've just done very, very simple, rather wonky crosshatch quilting on it. And when I started quilting this, I thought, oh, I'm sitting on it, sorry. When I started quilting this, I thought, oh, really I should use grey, because that will, but I didn't have any grey. I didn't want to use black, obviously, so I went for the white. And actually, I quite like it standing out that bit more. I think it gives it a slightly different dimension, and it breaks the black up slightly. Sorry, I'm really struggling to talk today. I have backed it with an old duvet. So I remember this being on my bed when I was a child. My mum brought it round and said, can you use it? And I thought, well, not really, because the only person whose bed it would fit would be my son's. And, I'm sure he wouldn't care. Probably ought to try not to give him a pink duvet cover. So I said, well, I'm sure I can use it for quilting or something. So that's what I've done. I've used it for the back of this quilt. I did think I could get really, really clever and try and get it so that because it was the snap shut buttons on it. I thought I got all the poppers. I thought if I was really clever, I could get that going across the middle of the quilt or something. Thankfully, or not thankfully, unfortunately, I'm not that clever, and I only would have broken a needle trying to quilt it. Anyway, so I've just got to bind this one. It'll be a black binding. Attach it at the front, and then I'll hand sew it on at the back. The story, the very embarrassing story behind this quilt, is that I wanted, so in the design, you'll have seen that there wasn't this top border, and I decided I wanted to add this outer border the whole way around the quilt. And I made the middle section first of all, and then sort of put it away for a couple of months and thought I'll just add that extra border later. So I went to add it and I cut out all my pieces, and it was absolutely fine. And I started to sew them together and I was thinking, it doesn't look quite right. It doesn't look quite right. I couldn't work out why it didn't look quite right. And then when I tried to put it onto the quilt, it wouldn't line up. I was thinking, well, what have I done wrong? I've done exactly the same as I've done in the middle. Why is this not working? Where have I gone wrong? Because to be fair, if you follow the directions, it fits together perfectly. It really does. Anyway, and I was trying all different things. I went back, I recut pieces, I checked bits that I had cut and it was all correct and I couldn't work it out, and I shortened my stitch and I lengthened my stitch and it just wasn't going to go. And I could not for the life of me work out what I was doing wrong that meant the borders wouldn't fit on to the middle of the quilt. Eventually I just got fed up with it. I thought, right, I'm just going to fudge it. Quilt over the bad bits, nobody will notice anyway. So I fudged it, ironed the poo out of some parts of it and wedged other bits together. You will fit, and eventually got it on. Threw it back in the bag, really annoyed with it because I'd been so pleased with the middle of it. I was really cross that I'd ruined the outside of it, and walked away. A couple of days later, went back to the sewing machine to do something else. Sat down and thought, oh, I need to change the foot. I haven't got my quarter inch foot on. Took me a lot longer than I would care to admit. Suddenly go, that's why the quilt didn't fit together, because I was using the wrong foot. Even though I was running it down the edge of the foot like I would on my quarter inch, it was the wrong foot. So it's just never going to fit together. Anyway, it has now all come together in the end. There's the odd crease you can't really see. Fortunately, it's all on the outside, so it's not really that noticeable. But I absolutely love this. It's so, so colourful. I love batiks. I love using batiks and mixing them in with other things. Yeah, so I'm really happy with it. And I'm also really chuffed to have used the duvet on the back of it, I'm afraid. I know everyone does, you know, these amazing pieced backs on their quilts, and, you know, they all look fabulous and lovely. But I had the duvet sitting there, so I thought I will use it. Right, I have an old quilt to show you. So a previous finish, which again came out of this book. I'm not sure how good a photo I'm going to get out of this. So this is the Spool Quilt, again from the Friendship Strips and Scraps by Laundry Basket Quilts. Taking out of the border because I have not done the border. There's a bit of a reoccurring theme with my quilting. I haven't done this border. As much as I love floral, as much as I love applique, I just didn't at that point in time want to do it. So I took the middle and I added a few borders of my own on. So again, this is a quilt that well, it's not a quilt actually, it's a coverlet, because I've backed it with fleece and I haven't put any wadding. No, not wadding, what's it called? Oh, I'm sorry, I'm having brain. Complete blank. The middle part of the sandwich, it hasn't got it in it. I've got 2 slices of bread and no filling. Could be me. So here we go. So again, what I've done, a lot of, actually her spools were multicoloured. I have divided mine up into colours of varying, well, colours, I suppose. Again, this is all, yes, this is all batiks. The tops of the spools are it's Is it an Indian? Oh, I don't know. It's not a normal batik. It's not what you would think a normal batik, but it has that sort of pattern on it. I don't know if you can see it very well, sorry. So this is the, and then the borders, I decided I wanted to do a bit of embroidery. So I put a sewing machine on. I used up some more scraps of fabrics. The edges, you've got a little spool. Is there a needle? No, just a spool with multicoloured thread coming off it. So this corner must be the thimbles and the needles that I've embroidered on. And then this edge I copied off of Pinterest. Look, I've taken the brown, done one square, and then I've just picked out 3 colours, and I've done, that's a cross stitch. That's a special, that has a proper name, and I can't for the life of me think what it is, I'm sorry. But yeah, so that is what I've done all the way down the sides. And then at the bottom, again, oh, here we go. Yeah, exactly the same, just on the bottom. So on the back, you have this lovely spotty fleece, which is great. And I have tied this quilt coverlet. I tied this, I wanted to give that a go. And so, you can't see very well, but in the top and the bottom of each spool, there is a tie, and in the middle of each square, there is a tie. And then obviously these edges are completely tied. As of yet, I haven't washed this quilt. I haven't done that for 2 reasons. Firstly, because it is so full of batiks. I am going to wash it, but I think I'm going to have to buy another box of colour catchers to see what happens. And I'm hoping, I'm sure I'll have people going, no, that's nowhere near tied enough. But I'm hoping because it hasn't got the middle, is it batting? Oh, why can't I remember the name of that? I'm so sorry. Because it hasn't got the middle section of the sandwich, I'm working on the theory you don't have to have it quite so closely tied or quilted. So, I mean, this will go into the machine and washing machine, and it will fill up my washing machine. So it's not going to be strung out, and then it will be dried flat on top of a washing line, sort of one of those a rotary washing line. I'll just lay it across the top of it. So I'm hoping that by doing that, it's not going to stretch it too much. I could be wrong, but we shall see. Anyway, so yeah, so those are, oh no, another nice blue batiki bind. So yeah, so I really enjoyed making that quilt. That was great fun. It didn't actually use that much fabric, but there we go. I like having the fleece on the back. Yeah, I like having the fleece on the back. Some ways I think the fleece is a bit warmer. And I wouldn't put the middle section. As soon as I finish recording this, I'll remember the name of that. I wouldn't put the middle section in because it would just be too thick, too heavy for my washing machine, and it would just be too heavy. So, I think that is it for quilting. I think I spoke in my last video about the Quilting Summit, 2021 Quilting Summit that was being put on by Rebecca Page that I found out via Instagram. And you signed up for free. And I think it was 4 or 5 days of classes, quite a few classes in each day. And for the first day, if you signed up for free, you could just watch it all. But if you wanted to go back to any of the classes, you needed to then pay. It was all right. You can't complain about something that's free at the end of the day. I don't think, because you got an email in the morning. And then from that email, you got the links to that day's classes. I didn't get day 3 at all. That just never appeared in my email box. And I looked at a couple of the days. A lot of the things you could tell from the front, I just wasn't going to be interested in. But the 2 things I did like, there was a chap called the Quilting Cowboy who did a square in a square quilt. That was quite good. And Kelly Ladwig, who did a Go Hing Gone quilt. And I was really pleased to see that quilt because I don't tend to have a huge stash of fabrics. But every time I go to a quilt show, I do normally buy a couple of pretty pieces. And when I get them home and put them all together, I realise that I tend to buy a lot of pieces with big patterns on them. And of course you then don't want, or pictures on them, that you then don't want to cut into small pieces because you lose the effect of the picture. And what she did was, she said, this quilt, she said, was fantastic for big patterned pieces of fabrics, because essentially you cut out and then just framed them with 2 borders and turned them into pictures. So you just sort of had a line of pictures that became your quilt. I haven't explained that very well, I'm sorry. So that's quite good. So I've got a few fabrics I might do that with, and it looked reasonably simple. So that is the end of the quilting section. My plan is to get, obviously, my Star a Day basted and quilted and bound. I'll bind my petite quilt, and then hopefully once I've done that, I will be able to start my Etoile Rouge by Catherine Kerr, because I haven't started that yet. I want to get these lot finished. And there is another quilt in my bag of shame that I need to sandwich and finish as well. So if you're leaving me here, I'm going on to crochet. So if you're leaving me here, thank you for lasting this long. I'm terribly sorry, I can't remember. I just can't remember the name of it. But I hope you've had a good month. I hope you have some quilts in your plans. And yeah, thank you for watching, and I will see you hopefully in April. Bye-bye. Right, crochet. Right, you're not allowed to laugh. So this quick and easy shawl is still on the go. I have, I'll leave this here so you can't see it. I have achieved a bit more, thankfully. So we are now, I'm not going to be able to show you this very well, am I? So I'm now up to here. Unfortunately, I do have this bit, so it still isn't as flat as it could be. I think I've found why, and I'm working on it. So I am contemplating just folding that over and stitching it in so it does give a flat top. But as you'll see, I've added a different colour. Oh well. I've added a different colour and I absolutely love it. I'm so pleased. So basically this was the green section, finished up that hank, I assume it's hank of yarn. And it's fabulous. I love it. But I thought I just want to put something else with it. And I also didn't want to have to untangle the other hank yet. I haven't got around to doing that. So I thought, right, I'll put something else with it. So I ended up buying, again from the Shame Shop, sorry, Yarn Story in Bath. I bought Fibre Co, Cumbria, Unto the Hills, Fingering Weight. And it is this gorgeous, gorgeous deep red that I thought would go with this green, because there are obviously flecks of green. Absolutely love it. And of course, had to ball the yarn up. So I did it off the back of a chair this time, and it has worked to a certain degree. You're not allowed to laugh. I've put it on my oil brush. I was trying to find something that I could put it on, and this was, I thought, well, I rarely use this, and it's big enough, it'll do. So it's on here. It is all absolutely fine, but I still have struggled with these end bits. And I think basically what happens is I sort of start, get to an end and come back again. And I'm doing something wrong here that I don't know why, it seems to elongate. But anyway, at the moment, it's all on here. It's not knotted. It's quite easy to use. This just sits next to me and I unravel it as I need it. I'm obviously not going to be oiling any tins anytime soon in cooking. But yeah, so that's as far as I've got with this. I think what I'm going to do is use this entire hank. And then I will probably, depending on the size of it, if it's big enough, I will just put a border on in this colour. If it's not big enough still, I will go back to my original rat's nest, untangle it, and carry on with that. So we shall see. So that is the never-ending shawl for me. By this time, hopefully it'll be done by next winter. It'll be far too hot to wear it by the time I've got it finished this year. So hopefully by next winter, it will be done. I am enjoying it. I'm a slow crocheter. It's as simple as that. I have to look at it, and yeah, I'm just slow at it. It's not, you know, you see these women knitting and crocheting and they're talking and they're not looking at what they're doing, and there's just this reams of crochet coming, and I'm very methodical about it. So it's going to take me my time. But there we go. So that is the end of the crochet. I don't have any plans other than to keep on going with that one. Eventually get it finished. So that's the end of the little crochet segment. I would say, this was sent, obviously I ordered this online. It's a fabulous shop in Bath. The only thing which struck me slightly was that they have a flat shipping rate, which is actually £5. So it cost me a third of the hang to get it shipped, which in this day and age is quite, well, there's nothing wrong with it, but when you're used to either not paying anything on Amazon or, you know, it's only being a couple of pounds. So if you do go to this shop, it's lovely. It arrived 36 hours later, absolutely fantastic. You know, she's got lovely stuff, but I would buy quite a few, well, it gives you a good excuse to buy quite a few balls of yarn, doesn't it, rather than the one. In the future, my daughter's down in Bath, so in the future, she will go in and pick it up and I will just have to wait till she comes home. Because, yeah, that was a bit of a shock. So that's the end of the crochet segment. I always say at the beginning, and any other crafts, and I haven't done any other crafts recently because I've been wanting to get on top of the quilts and, you know, get various projects finished up. But I have bought a couple to show you that I have done in the past, just because I want to. So the first thing I'm going to show you is my turkey or my chicken. So this is a felt kit. She sits on the shelf, staring at us all whilst we're watching TV. So this came from the House of Zandra felt kit, and I have the Dandy Dragon to do at some point to keep her company. So as I said, they are kits, they do come with everything with them. But I did actually think ahead for once in my life. Oh gosh, it's a bit dusty, sorry. I did think ahead for once, and I made a working copy. So theoretically, I can either make more out of more felt, another one of these out of more felt, or I might make a patchwork one to join her. We shall see. They're very easy. They do take a bit of time though, because I sort of sat down one evening thinking, oh yeah, you know, get this done. And a week later I'd finished it, working in the evenings doing it. But they are really, really good. She's really cool. I do have to keep her up high because the dog keeps on trying to eat her. There we go. So that's one of the things I've made. Another thing I've made brings us back to Hannah's Room, which is the shop that specialises in petite fabrics in the UK. And they do various kits for various things. And I bought this kit and made myself a little clock. So I've actually managed to knock this off the wall. So the clock isn't working at the moment. I've got to get a new clock piece. The clock piece did come in the kit. And so you've got two hares staring up at the moon. And I absolutely love this. It was really easy to do. It is literally just glued onto the back. The hardest part was actually making a hole through the fabric and the board to fit this through. So when I've got a new clock, I think you can buy these sort of clock things off Amazon, can't you? So once I bought one of those, I'll repair it and put it back up on the wall. But I really like that. And then the final thing I made was a day group thing, a quilting group. One of the ladies had offered to do a sort of a day's workshop with us, and we made this little sewing basket. So the edges and the base, and then you take the top off, and ta-da! It loosens out. So you've got, what have we got here? Oh, we've got a little, so you can store things behind that, or we have little pockets. As you can see, mine's completely empty because I don't really tend to have that much stuff. My daughter did use it while she was back at home. But it was quite amusing. Well, it was a really good workshop. It was really good. And, you know, it's very pretty. I absolutely love it. The only thing I think we actually sewed on it was the lid. You can see, I don't know if you can see closely around the edge of the lid. So those bits of fabric. Otherwise, it was all cardboard, Pritt stick, and fabric. Even, you know, these. Sorry, let me see. Yeah. So these things are just. Oh, hang on, I can't. Oh, there we go. So these things are just glued on behind. You can see where that's coming out a little bit. So they're just glued. The bottom is just glued in. It's all just glued together. It's really fantastic. It's really good. And it does last quite well. I have to say I don't use mine because I don't have, as I said, I haven't got that much stuff to sort of store. But it's very pretty. And one of these days I aspire to having enough sewing stuff to be able to store it into that. And I think that is now it. I think I've finished waffling. We're at 50 minutes. I do hope that this has recorded. I do hope that you're able to hear everything. Next time I will try and iron my shirts before I make a video. So if you've lasted this long, thank you very much indeed. So I hope you have a marvellous March. I think we'll go for marvellous March this year. So I hope you have a marvellous March. I hope the weather's good. I hope we can get out in the garden. Lockdown is easing slowly. My children are going back to school next week. So yeah, so hopefully things will start to change, if nothing else. So thank you very much for lasting this long. Take care, and I'll see you at the beginning of April, hopefully.